Radio in town. Unity FM. We don't really hear and
let me be
Unity FM.
Wag majole kwena chiella meo bini wanchawa man kwena merwenyatin te yela Jameson Justin mesendo pak te chwalo kwena merwenyatin na mobedo atin na wobi Mohammed tiangwen tia mero chara yela me bade bor para cholla molina ta atin marwenye sendo pak ngote kwa ngato ken amone na tin man onyotia gwakatin man meme yunga chere radio kakan radio Unity onye gochi mena manota bira beach achiel abira chera bichiel abichiel abich nyonota biro abiro aboro bongwena boro ario ngwen adek aboro atin mano no tie tungo jog Moses me Central Park mana bero kwena chiel ame pira te kire ye ko bone mano no dakika me chawani obero dakika ame obino bero kede kare me jollo eka hotele yutami yotkan kara chiel kede obema me ICC dakika no nok tutalo bino dogo chien eka hotemede kede yutamo. You're welcome. Thank you very much. You're Just a brief introduction. I'm your host tonight. My name is Joe Orage. Joe Orage. Yeah. And I will be here with him as a producer. Zambos. You're most welcome. Thank you very much. Initially, before you came, we were thinking whether we're going to make this very interactive, so that we have a brief background and then we call on to the listeners to interact with us. Hope that is well with you.
But just to be sure, how much time do we have? Because
1 hour,
we're
1
already
hour,
late.
1 hour, 1 hour.
We're only 1 hour.
We should have had 2 hours, but because of the busy schedule now, we are 1 hour late. So at 9 exactly, we have another talk show.
That's fine. So then we do 30 minutes of Q&A.
Yeah.
Let's start.
It's fine. Yeah, good evening, listener, and good evening, my guest tonight, the Chief Prosecutor, ICC, Fatu Bensouda. Hope I'm right with your name. You're most welcome, and I'm honored to host you tonight on Unity FM radio station in Dela.
Thank you very much.
Your coming has been long awaited, and I believe the people in this region, the victims of the LRA war, are very happy to hear that you're around, and they would want to interact with you. And briefly, before we start, I would want to give a quick round of introduction for members who are in, especially the front desk. Is it necessary? Okay. Please, may I now take you straight away to the talk show this evening. And listeners, you'll have time to interact with us on our number, which will be 0772 0772-983-477 and 0753-983-477. This will be our line for interaction, and it will be live. Okay, Fatu Bensouda, what is the role of the ICC Prosecutor's Office?
The ICC's Prosecutor Office is mandated under the Rome Statute, which is the statute establishing the ICC itself, to investigate and prosecute war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide.
Yeah. And what is the purpose of your visit to Uganda, and in particular, northern Uganda, specifically, now today you visited Bala?
You will remember that in 2004, the Uganda government referred the situation in northern Uganda to the prosecutor of the ICC, which gave us the mandate to be able to investigate and prosecute crimes that were taking place there at the time. And we had investigated that case. We first mainly focused on the LRA at the time, because in our consideration, LRA was the party committing the gravest crimes. We investigated, and then we requested for warrants of arrest to issue against Joseph Kony, Vincent Oti, Dominic Ongwen, Raska Lukuya, and Okot Ojambo. So these warrants have been outstanding, not executed since 2005.
I'm aware Raska Lukuya passed on a year in 2008, and so what has happened with it?
What we did was, when we learned of the passing of Raska Lukuya, as an office of the prosecutor, it was a responsibility to inform the judges that the person whom we have requested arrest warrant for is now no longer alive. So we presented that to the judges with proof that Raska Lukuya is no longer alive, and the judges withdrew the charges against him.
You're coming to northern Uganda as some have been long awaited. And the people of this region have been yearning for your coming and yearning for justice to prevail. What message did you leave with the victims of the LRA as you visited Lukodi and Baloy?
I am particularly pleased to say that my visit to Uganda has been very fruitful for me also as prosecutor. I have wanted to do this for a long time. It is my first visit as prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, even though it's not my first visit to Uganda. But I thought that it was extremely important for me to come to northern Uganda, where actually the incidents were taking place, to be able to meet with the affected communities and to meet with the victims, and to assure them that everything is being done for them to have justice, the long-awaited justice that they've been waiting for 10 years.
And for our listeners outside there, you can follow this discussion on youtube.com, search Unity FM 97.7 ICC Prosecutor Live, and you'll be able to follow the discussion live on YouTube. Again, like it was said, is it true that Ongwen's case is centered around Lukodi, and yet we have victims in Balonya you visited today? We have victims all over northern Uganda. Is it true that the Ongwen's case is centered around Lukodi? And how will the victims in Lao and Teso that you're visiting tomorrow participate in this case?
You will remember that this the case of Ongwen was since 2005. Actually, we were investigating both in 2004 and I think leading up to 2005. And this was a time when there was a lot of insecurity in the country, especially in the northern part of the country. The LRA were still very active. They were still committing crimes. And we were not able to reach the many, many communities that we know that have been affected by the crimes committed by the LRA. So our focus at the time was on in Lukodi, and we brought the charges against Ongwen for the crimes that we got the evidence for, the information that the evidence that we were able to collect at the time. And this is what we had presented to the judges. So the charges that he's being transferred to the court for are those charges. There are no new charges that we have brought after he was surrendered to the court. So I want this to be clear.
Okay.
And of course, since 2005, we are aware that Dominic Ongwen is alleged to have committed more crimes in different areas, even outside of the country, in neighboring countries. We are aware of this. And I have immediately put a team together in my office to be able to look into this these other crimes and to advise, and we see what is the way going forward. So it is not that we are ignoring the crimes or we are not looking at it or we are not looking at other areas. It's just that because of the existing crimes he was charged with was only focused on Lukodi.
Okay. Now, what are the implications of the ongoing case to the victims? For example, on when if he wins the case or he loses, what benefit will accrue to the victims?
At the ICC, we have what is known as victim participation initially. This means that victims of Dominic Ongwen's crimes can actually apply to the court to participate in the proceedings once they can demonstrate that they have been affected by the crimes for which he is charged. If they are accepted to participate as victims, the court will afford them a legal representative, a lawyer, who will be able to plead their case during the trial. When the trial is done and there is a conviction against Mr. Ongwen, then the victims can actually ask for reparation. Because at the ICC also, the issue of victim participation and victim rehabilitation and reparation takes place. The judges will be able to order that the certain victims who have demonstrated to be affected by the crimes committed by Ongwen should be given reparation.
Before you came, there were many discussions, and this suggested that you should have extended your visit to many other places which have been affected by the LRA war. Balong is one of them. We have a beer incident. We have a Bakwenalero. All these are in different parts of Lamu, but in different districts. What is your take on this?
Well, my take is that I want this visit to be seen as very symbolic. It is not, of course, possible that I will be able to visit all the communities, and I want to extend my apologies for that because of the time that I have in my hand. But at least I thought that to visit some of them, some of the affected communities, listen to them, interact with them before I go back is an important aspect of my work. And as I said, I'm not able to visit everywhere, but I hope they will understand the reasons why.
Now, the issue has been that there should have been traditional cleansing, locally known as traditional cleansing.
Yes.
And a traditional justice system known as Matoputin, actually. And leaders have been asking for this. And now when is before ICC, is it possible this can still happen?
Well, as long as he's standing trial at the ICC, Ongwen cannot be present to go through any kind of traditional healing. Because Ongwen has been charged formally with crimes, very serious crimes, war crimes and crimes against humanity that we say shock the conscience of humanity. And it is really a process that has started with the ICC, having investigated and brought charges. And now that we have him, we are attempting now to go to trial, to start the judicial process. So this will take time at The Hague, and hopefully will result in the conviction of Dominic Ongwen as prosecutor. That's the best result I will like to have. So I don't think, unless they do it in his absence, but he has to stand trial at The Hague.
People are not yet very much aware of the status quo of Vincent Oti. Do you have any reason? Whether it's can be prosecuted before ICC or not at all? Because there were rumors he died.
Yeah.
So what is the take of ICC on Vincent Oti?
Well, we also got the information, I think late last year, that Vincent Oti has passed. And we tried to get more information. And what was available to us, we have filed it with the chamber to advise the chamber that Vincent Oti has passed. We were seeking to have the same result like in Raskalukuya, where the charges were withdrawn against him because you cannot prosecute a person who's no longer alive. But the judges are not quite satisfied yet with the information that we've given them. And they have not withdrawn the charges yet. They need us to explain to them more, give them more confirmation that he's actually no longer alive. And we are in the process of trying to do that. Even with respect to Okot Ojambo, we are also in a similar situation. We are doing consultations with the government if they can help us to confirm the charges, to confirm the death or otherwise of Okot Ojambo.
Thank you. I will give an opportunity to Jimmy. Jimmy, remember we're dealing with the local people. They may not be so much acquainted with the English. And so may I give you just a few minutes to translate what has just been explained by the chief prosecutor.
The present at the chapter window, if penny of Paul and a bit time we met Dr. Women, young of Long Young, may I tell a penny tea office for a prosecutor of the Tiang. The Madame Prosecutor was a teacher appeared that lawyer and a quendo, Cotton Bal Maginotime, Manoporte Macatala Rocha ICC. Kitty Mario enemy peel come, Mabiak Notim Bali or Court. Bianca Quedo, Makin Manurna in a talking bal, Chichuale Nim or Cope may ICC, Chicky Pilu, yeah. My obey teacher, La Penma per Mario and the prosecutor not leave me ICC, Ubino Kalim Kantano, no Mokel and time. Ender Bakeo Covenant and Bino Kan, Mea Chel, Pian Morali Vario Padek, Gamente Charu, Kohocom, the LRA bought ICC. Mario Rio Van Wen, official leader, make out my ICC, Machal office, Mega, obey the trial, quite cotton and bal from Almeida Dana time. A male a Grogine and Obini, you are beach. I'm making the T. Joseph Point, Vincent T. Court Diamo Dr. Wen, Kerasta Lucia, why I went Mapical Being. A male term, Marama Pacolo, a man. Mohammed Yadi from Guinea, and taking a Toroman opinion court. ento in wakati eni de ma chel ngara chel kenadi ma domni ko ngwen ko mi kala nim ko ame en biun ka ni chel ka winyu duan jo ma balo timi ko gi awo en be do kodi tin be do balon me mi yo jo be ro timi ko gi du ngeni ti pa office ti en me ti me pidi ko jo ma bal ma don ma bal me petimi ma timi kar ma le no wen to do ko le wen bal ma don ma pe no le wen do chep me wen ka chel ki bal mo ma te ro ki ko pa dan donc en be ko to twale ni ma kali bari o ka bero bien penyo ken in penyo to twale com Vincent T ka chel ki rasha kia ma in kwa ka maleng ni en wa ni ma kali bari o ka bero office ma mege u kwero u mo da twale ni ngol ko ni ya ngara chel kin kena yo ngu bichan kono rwenye ko ame wara me ma ba rasha kia ma kali bari o ka bero donc pere ket ko ko no kom na to apenyo kene mana ipenyo ene obedo ni kit loka ngo kwena ngo ma eno kelo ki joma balo to me ko to try lock na do ko block joma ti lo kodi ka je ki joma ti balo kwena ngo eno pane eno wa ka len ni ene biyo kan to try me machalo prosecutor me court my ICC me ma te joma balo to me ko me wa je ke gene ngol mati ko tin pigi en pol kare down to we lo ko joma balo to me ko down ko le pek mi yet bot en biyo ma det lo en ñu to ci ne office ma mege pia terra ci ma do ngal ci ame don ko be ñim ko ti ñim ko do ma ko mi ta ko meti ci kere biir ne e peñu ben la peñu mo ken ma dox kom kes mat ko ti ñim ko ne wadi ne kes en en taw ti ko ma ci le ken ay lo ko di ten lo ko di victim no ken ko joma balo ti me ko ma chala mati teso mati lango mati madi ati kam ken ni bon lo ko ngi tene ngo en ben ko ba ma leng ni kena kama ali bario kama en kiari ali bario kabi kor wara me wa kinyin jo bi making the teachers of fun Vincent T of course diamo down ne ngwen kiras ko kuya donc kombe mo logo ni ngara chele kingi dom ni ko ngwen ti yin ko ikara cha magen ki timu ko kumal me gan ne fight pe ki timu ka be wani ko pien ka ta pin ki maraja da case eneni pa dom ni ko ngwen ne o beru case ma o timi ko kodi eto kombe ma don piri tiene kiet ma donga chel tin ko ken lo ni office ma megi ti atera me ya jemu kene o wajini ma dong ma dom di ko ngwan ki nyim ko en kelo tim moro yo office ma mege men ne kit yo ngo me wara nim ken lo ni wi office ma mege po wi ko do balo tim ge kabir mo kene ma pat kilo ko ni ke lo ka be now te so mari wen ka ma balo tim en bit me ke kwete ay dok mo kene bena o yiwaje to fale ma dok ko ngo mo petime kache Dominic ngwen lo ko to fale borjo babal dimet ko en wa de be tara de te ko de sisi ti jeme ario na biere te ma wilogo ko kero me chiel erne beru panga ma bala ti me ko me nyim ko ma le mon ko na victim participation reparation section te lo ko ni beru panga en biere te bien en do be chatame piru we ya ditme piru en beru kami duan ke piru wor ke man ki mama biere te da donc be en wajin kinena ke ma wal ke kanye en machalo da plida ma diet me ko ma ICC office ma mege e ker team mo ma tika nemo no ma mier ke team work kes ni work o charni ke gem ma en ba wa yo pier tek ni ka che nen piru utum ma ke ngol fort u domini ko ngwen joma baro time kom gi geti ke gem ma ke woni roche pogi ba ke le mon ko ar korne preparation tien lo ko joma baro time kom gi ngol ko ma ICC ramongolo pi preparation me mi gi ame rojo pogi menene ku du lu be ke ma yang no ke kere man be ma pier tek any team no pir no piptum no ngal ko me ay meno me ko dretum la peña rio ma ki me wa waj wi en ma ni peña wa ko ni office pala ko keto pino po me be ne kan bien ne ti ma nok to pal en wa ni twine ma chalo en la tit pa ko ma ICC pe ne no be ni be tral ka do en do ko yor en to gen ma tieni bien ne kan ni me bien ni pe ram le mo ka be no wen en to work ka be rio dek me wor no nyur kama leng mirne ni tiki atara me winyo don joma balo kimi ko ngi beru kan beru la wo bulu tieno bien kan di khini charo sorote ka dong do non pier tekni bien ne onore olo well mi don kiru ma gi khini penye lo kom ma to foot nyo timo kida en wa kama len ni bal ma Dominic Ongwen ki te bal ma tiem mo be bal ma don man ne akwano ki bal ma time ka len no len ke do chep no len ka chel ki balu kena ma time mano lit kom dano ken lo di bal eno ni mir pit ke nyin ko wa ka ki non ak en no bal ma chalen Dominic Ongwen ki ni e foot yen ICC ya bo ki mir ne yualo gen ma time nyongo me kelo ngol mati.
Jimmy. Thank you so much, Jimmy. And as I earlier on said, you can follow this discussion on youtube.com, search UTFM 97.7 ICC Prosecutor Live. You'll be able to follow the discussion. In a short while, my lines will be open on 0772 98 3477 or 0753 98 3477. And as I come back to the prosecutor, the issue of the age of Dominic Ongwen during the time when he was kidnapped as a child has been very controversial in this region. People saying he was kidnapped as a child and was the responsibility of the government of Uganda to protect the child. Now, why should we prosecute him when he was kidnapped?
I have had the opportunity of having a few meetings with the affected communities, and definitely that is not the the position that they have taken. In fact, even today at my meeting in Balonyo, everybody was saying that he has to be prosecuted. He should be prosecuted. Justice must be done. So these others who are purportedly speaking for the victims are definitely not taking the position of the victims of the crimes that are alleged to have been committed by Dominic Ongwen. I also want to underscore that we have charged Dominic Ongwen with these alleged crimes after he reached the age of 18, when he was no longer a child. That is what we have charged him with, the responsibility of having committed those crimes. I think it is to clarify that as ICC, in fact, we cannot charge anybody who is below the age of 18. The fact that people are saying he was a victim, and that's why he should not be prosecuted, I do not think that we are really taking everything into consideration, such as the fact that there had been apparent opportunities for which Mr. Ongwen would be able to come back and leave the ranks of the LRA. In fact, from my understanding, they had even gone one time during the Juba talks to bring him back, but he did not want to come back. He wanted to stay there. So we should also think about that, whether there are opportunities existed for him to abandon violence and come back. The charges that, as I said, we've leveled against him for when he was 18 years and above, not below that. There were several people who were in the ranks of, several children who were in the ranks of the LRA and who have managed to escape. Also, you remember that we charged Dominic Ongwen in 2005, and he was very much aware of these charges. We know that. And the question you ask yourself is, if he was aware and was remorseful and did not want to continue committing crimes, why are we receiving all this information that even after 2005, crimes continue to be committed by him, allegedly?
Thank you so much. And line at it woro idakirani Roberto Kerekar me penya tira but Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda. Jimmy, you'll note the questions and forward them to the prosecutor in case they're in the local language. 0772 983 477 or 0753 983 477. Hello? 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 I've lost that caller. Number two, but not a bit are you? Hello? 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 Eh. Rashid. Yeah.
on some of the previous prosecutions that they have been able to do. And it is in Uganda, and some times ago, our president has been so much controversial on the Uganda's position in the ICC. So, what is our take on the Uganda's position, especially as the president when they were prosecuting President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya?
Okay.
Do you think those comments that he made will somehow interfere with the credibility of the ICC in the of Uganda?
Rashid, your position is taken. Thank you. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Joe. This is Jen Benson, that's calling from my Nyopi, the Balasa County.
Jen Benson, please go ahead.
I would like to thank that prosecutor, madam, who come from Netherlands.
Go ahead, yes.
Okay. They come from Netherlands to come and see what the minister was doing here. So, what do you have to say about that?
Be brief, go straight to your question and opinion.
Okay. I would like that to assure her that when was doing the bad thing here, we went to be taken before the court of law and prosecuted with there because what he was doing here was not good. Taking out that doing very bad thing, you find that gathering people, getting fire on them. And on the main road, it's very bad.
Benson.
To be taken to court and prosecuted before the court of law.
Thank you. Hello? Hello? Yes, please. Hello? Who? Okidi Bala. When okay. Hello? Hello? Yes? Nga. Joel. Kalo code. Okay. Boy. I will pick one other call before I can give time to the prosecutor to respond. Hello?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. You're welcome.
Yes, this is Joan from Lampedusa.
Joan, yes.
I am appealing to the prosecutors that they should go ahead and prosecute when I lost two of my blood brothers and then other close relatives because of the Hillary activities. I think the justice should prevail in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Most of these concerns were raised in the using the English, but only about 1-2 that was very simple on the issue of prosecution of Owen. The boss say Owen must be prosecuted. The prosecution must go on. But the issue of the controversy of the president, as far as the president of Kenya was concerned last year, what do you have to say about this, Rashid?
I mean, I know this question, people keep asking me to comment on what the president has said, but I don't think I have any comments on what he has said. All I can say is that each case has to be taken on its own. The reasons that were given to criticize the ICC or make the ICC lack credibility, of course, are not reasons that are backed by facts on the ground. I explain this all the time, that ICC is targeting Africa, when on the contrary, Africa has been requesting for ICC's assistance, and that's what we are doing. So any criticisms that are made against the ICC is not based on the facts on the ground. And I could elaborate on that, but I think people know now that all our situations that come from Africa, 5 of them have been at the request of African governments themselves, requesting for ICC to intervene. So I do not understand when we are being called to come to investigate and at the same time accuse us of following the African leaders. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense. And I think it must be categorically understood to be what it is, and it should not really be attributed to the ICC. It's not a fair criticism. It's not a correct criticism. It's not based on anything that we are doing right now. With respect to cooperation in this case, I just want to highlight that we are already receiving the cooperation we need from the Ugandan government. They have also, at very highest level, promised to the Office of the Prosecutor that they will support the case. They will support the investigations, the ones that we may do again, and that they will assist us. So this is important for me, and I have no doubt, no reason to think otherwise. Right now, what we need is to have support from the affected communities, from the victims, from the government, from civil society, to be able to bring a very good case before the judges. And this, we have had the assurance of the government and also the affected communities. All those where we're seeking help, we have had the assurance that they will help the office.
Now, to me, it seems like there's a little misunderstanding and also poor understanding on the ICC operations.
Yes.
And I would want to complement this with a question that has come from Dickens Johan on Facebook, and is saying, I would like to know if ICC is also active in the European countries, because it seems ICC is targeting mainly Africans.
You know, I have just answered this question.
In terms of the European countries.
I will come to that. I have just answered this question that we are in Africa not by choice, because Africans are requesting us to come. And I can begin to name the various African countries that have requested ICC to intervene. Uganda was the first country to request ICC's intervention, followed by the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Central African Republic. In fact, the Central African Republic have requested us twice to come and intervene in their situation and investigate and prosecute. Mali has requested us to investigate in their country. Cote d'Ivoire has requested us to intervene in their country. So these are already 5 situations in Africa who've requested ICC's intervention. Should we say that because they are African countries, when they request, we should refuse to come because it's Africa? Or should we then conclude that because they've requested us to come and we've come, then we are targeting them? It doesn't follow. It doesn't. Let people look at what the facts are on the ground and not just take it empty like that and say ICC is targeting Africa. When a country or a government is part of the ICC, when you have signed and ratified the Rome Statute, you can actually ask the prosecutor of the ICC to intervene in your country if these crimes take place and they are not able to do it. Then ICC can come in. Because ICC does not replace national systems. We only complement. If the national system is not doing it or is not able to do it, then ICC comes, usually at the request of that national system. But also, the prosecutor of the ICC is mandated under the statute that when the crimes happen in any country where we have jurisdiction, and I will explain that, and nobody else is doing anything to address them, then the prosecutor of the ICC can intervene in that situation to investigate and prosecute. Now, I just want to tell you about our jurisdiction, that we have not intervened in European countries, we have not intervened. As I said, the ICC's mandate is to complement national systems. Firstly, these crimes of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide must occur before we look at them where we have jurisdiction. And by that I mean those who have signed and ratified the statute and are part of the ICC. To just inform, because I think many people don't know that we are active in many areas outside of the African continent, which they don't know about. For instance, we are conducting preliminary examinations in Ukraine. We are conducting preliminary examinations in Afghanistan. We've conducted preliminary examinations in Korea. We have not in Colombia. Currently, we are also conducting preliminary examination in Colombia and in Honduras. So these are all countries that the ICC has jurisdiction because they are member states of the ICC. Where in Iraq, we are conducting preliminary examinations over the UK forces and the alleged detainee abuse that took place in Iraq during the conflict. And it's over the UK forces because UK is a state party to the Rome Statute. So people choose not to listen to all of these things, but just concentrate on what, unfortunately, our political leaders are giving them, that ICC is targeting Africa. And in the end, who is justice being done for? It's for the victims. Don't the victims deserve justice because they are Africans? That is why we will respond to the call if it comes from Africa. If another country were to call ICC today to come because their crimes are being committed there, I'm not going to look at the consideration that ICC is only in Africa. I will go. I will go and respond to the call of the victims.
Okay, thank you. Madam, would you comment on the International Crime Division in Uganda, which seemingly has not been functioning because of the blanket amnesty law? You cite Colonel Thomas Koyelo issue and other commanders of the LRA apart from the 5 top. What is the position?
Well, the position, as I was trying to explain earlier, is to say that governments must also try to make efforts to address the crimes primarily by themselves, because the primary responsibility to investigate and prosecute will always remain with the government. It is only when they are not able or when they are not willing that the ICC can come in, or where they have referred the situation to us to come in. I believe that the International Crime Division is another effort that is being made by the government to address the crimes that have taken place. Unfortunately, there is this amnesty law, which I believe is so broad that it can capture anybody. So anybody, no matter how grave the crimes you've committed, can come out and ask for amnesty, just like we have seen in the case of Koyelo. In practical terms, however, we have been doing what we can in our meager way to support the work of the International Crimes Division. We have received some of their officials in our office. We've interacted with them. We have exchanged information on our own case with them. And we have also, they have stayed in the office, I believe, for about 3 weeks. This was a while back, just to study carefully our own processes and to see how they can adopt them for themselves, or how it can be useful, apply them for themselves. And we have continued to assure them that we will work with them, we will cooperate with them, because for us also, their work is important to us. And the more that we can interact and exchange information, the better, really.
Okay, thank you. Abinadok Damo Chimo Kenayano Nokudon, Keredake Ameromo Kapara Beach, about 15 minutes to end this talk show. I will pick calls on this line and have your questions, your opinion, your views, and your ideas on this particular talk show. Hello? Hello. Yes. Moses, yes. Keep going. Chimi Kwene. Moses.
Kadang bino ko betul mo koni ando tanyo men karo rak kedonan ma kedonan kiye. Yo ngo ane obino mi yo government kere do tanela no kere ini we na kara kera jam ni ko.
Okay. Hello? 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 I've lost that caller. Hello? 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 Long matter, Francis. Mm. I think I've lost Francis. Hello? Bonnie Doholo.
I would like to know this better.
Please go ahead.
I think government also have a hand in that because they are trying to protect the community of the northern Uganda. What can the ICC do on the government project? Because they were supposed to
Bonnie,
some property of the northern.
you're saying you think?
I'm saying.
Make your point very clear. If there's a question, please.
I'm asking that. What can the ICC do on the government project because they are trying to protect the life and property of the northern?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of protection. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Kulonga. Kulo Nemo Saddam.
Yes.
Kulo Wani.
Kada mira lo antini nero o Wednesday ka kono yena jara akisire da kabela. Yeah.
Okay, poyo.
Eka senda marea da kwenye kike. Meke kama wendi onego kita madare kwane kere to bero kakana na yini do te kana. O tikere moro kana nyam kana te kedo to kana ronya nyamo ni. Obino ne ko mona para de da mo ni vikara kia. I can't take a block of winner never to get them. So, thing on a better rated in a young gun and capacity and make it a young better than about you know, take it.
Atameno gamo choro koneti mo ka representation the sample. Eto ye ono tikere me mirror me word kagino duchu endo pichawa kere ticho die.
Okay.
Okay. Hello? 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 Hello, caller.
Hello.
Yes, please, speak up. Ngani?
Hello.
Yes.
Continue.
Recording Yinga.
Hello.
I'm listening, please. Yinga.
I want to go now, let go back. I want to go to channel.
Okay, winner. Hello?
Hello. I want to go
Hello?
Hello.
Good evening. Evening to you, please. Walter Minakulu.
Thank you for the prosecutor.
Yeah.
We welcome her in Uganda. We are very appreciative.
Thank you.
I want to know from her.
Yes, please.
After the case of when, what was the victim that was allowed? This is a possibility. These people to go and also fight. That is what I want to know.
Victim's participation, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. One last caller, and then I'll give time for the prosecutor to answer your questions. But we are grateful to the management who have given us more 30 minutes for this talk show. Hello? 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 Okay, let's go back to the prosecutor. And Jimmy, some questions were in local language. Please, can you translate to the prosecutor?
There were a couple of questions. I should translate. One was, why can't the prosecutor of the ICC also go to other places like Okwal and the others? But this was ably answered. Then the other one was, what if the trial of Dominic Ongwen reveals some incriminating evidence in government of Uganda? What will happen in this case? And then the next one was, what if the people want reconciliation or they want Ongwen to be forgiven? What is the official position of ICC? The last one was basically about, will victim testify at the ICC, in summary. And then the other one was,
What was it?
will victim testify at the ICC? And then the other one was more of a comment, not really a question. And it was basically saying that we, the people of Northern Uganda, who have suffered that much in this conflict, we don't see ourselves like forgiving Dominic Ongwen. I mean, or supporting Dominic Ongwen. So not more question.
Thank you. You can respond.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm thanking the callers for the question. I particularly want to thank Walter for welcoming me to Uganda. And to answer to the questions now, I think the first question talked about government, whether we will investigate government. Firstly, I want to say that ICC is about individual criminal responsibility. That means it is persons, that can be brought before the ICC. Even if they form part of a group or form part of a government, we usually would look of the person who is most responsible for the crimes, and those persons will be charged. Now, this is a matter of our investigations in Uganda has focused on the Lord's Resistance Army, because at the time that the government referred the situation to us, and we started our investigations, we assessed that the Lord's Resistance Army were the group that were committing the gravest crimes at that time. And for us, it is important that we start with one side and then follow on with the other. But we will start with those who we think or we assess were the ones committing the gravest crimes. Now, I will just remind you that when the government of Uganda referred the situation to my predecessor, they initially said that in the referral letter that they were referring Lord's Resistance Army to the ICC prosecutor. But the office has been very clear to say that if a referral is made of a situation, we will look at all parties to the conflict and not just one side. And they understood that very well and agreed to those terms, that all sides and all parties to the conflict will be investigated. However, over the past couple of years, we have not been very active in continuing with our investigations in the situation, because after we requested for the warrants to issue in 2005, we've stayed for a long time without having any prospects of arrest of this individual. And the investigations into the situation in northern Uganda was sort of suspended or hibernated. We were not actively investigating anymore in northern Uganda because there were other situations that we had to prioritize, especially those cases that we have already engaged the judicial process. So now with the surrender of Ongwen, many issues have risen that we have to consider carefully at the office, including should we go ahead and continue our investigations again to see what other areas we can we can look at, including what other party we can also investigate. So this is currently what we are discussing at the office, to look at the possibilities, including the resources that we can have to dedicate it to such investigations. I know some headlines, unfortunately, are saying that ICC prosecutor rejects to investigate the government, but this is not the case. I have not rejected anything. I have not accepted anything. I need a lot of assessment to do before I can make determinations on what next steps I can take. I just wanted that to be clear. There was also the what will happen to victims. I believe I have mentioned that, but I answered before about victims' VPRS participation and reparations, that victims can participate in the proceedings once they have shown themselves to be affected by the crimes that Dominic Ongwen is charged with, and at the end of the process to ask for reparation. So this is what can happen. The VPRS, which is the Victims Participation and Reparation, and the Office of the Public Counsel for Victims, as well as at the end of it all, the Trust Fund for Victims. These are the ones that are responsible for participation and reparation at the ICC, and they will also follow their own work. Again, this question has come up, and I believe I've answered it. Why can't I also investigate elsewhere? I believe I have answered that. It's been considered in my office since the arrest of Ongwen, and I also wanted to explain, but I think I've done that, to say that the charges are charges from 2005, dating from 2005. That is why Dominic Ongwen has been surrendered to the court. It is not new charges, and other areas have not been investigated before. So it's a consideration we will take now. We are looking at it to see how we can expand the charges if necessary.
Madam, before you proceed to another, would that mean therefore that any witness that will want to testify on atrocities committed by Ongwen after 2005 cannot stand before ICC?
Cannot stand before ICC?
Yeah.
No, at the moment, as I said, he's been surrendered. Of course, these charges have to be confirmed. And as you rightly note, it is mainly limited to the Lukodi incident. So what I was trying to explain is that the possibility of expanding the charges to include other areas is still there. So we're studying it, and when that happens, these other areas, these victims that you are mentioning, can also have the right to form part of the proceedings. Witness can also come forward to be able to testify in those areas.
Briefly on that, when it comes to victims' participation, would then that mean that the victims from the areas of Lukodi are the substantial victims to be witnessed in the ICC?
At the moment, the witnesses that we will, and victims we will take, will be specific from Lukodi, because it's the Lukodi incident that are the charges before the ICC currently, when it concerns only Dominic Ongwen. You have to remember that we charged 5 people, and they were charged with various incidents, not only limited to Lukodi. Many incidents were charged, and in the end, you will find that the particular accused person is charged with particular offenses. If you take it together, of course, the scope is much wider. But if you take out Dominic Ongwen from that wider scope and charge him alone, or bring the charges that you made against him alone, it's only the Lukodi incident.
Okay. It's understandable. It's already 9, and we shall go down for this short break. After the break, we shall see whether to proceed or not. But a few questions still. We are very interested in this. Thank you.
Unity FM.
The 30 minutes that have been given, is it taken or not? We conclude.
We will take it, but since she has a vote, maybe Jimmy will take over the next 30 minutes and try to explain. Are we live?
No.
And break it down. Very important point here that we need to go We'll take it, thank you.
Then let me take 2 calls, then the final question.
You're pushing. We're not taking it.
Okay, thank you. We ready at Chalo Woki management of Merodaka Piradek and on young ni prosecutor ticket busy schedules and she may not be able to continue, but we shall be able to continue with Jimmy in the studio after about that time. And my final question on this is that what assurance do you give to the victims and the witnesses? For there has been very controversial, especially when it comes to the issue of Kenya. Like you said, headlines everywhere was witnesses being bribed, witnesses being harassed, intimidated, and witnesses did not stand to testify against crime committed in Kenya, just like maybe the case of Dominic Ongwen and the LRA Northern Uganda. What assurance do you have for the victims and the witnesses?
The Kenya situation that we really were confronted with in the case of Uhuru Kenyatta, in terms of witness intimidation and witness bribery, was, the situation is just unprecedented. We've never seen anything like that in the office, and this has caused, of course, for the case for me to have to withdraw the case in the end, because important witnesses who were to, for example, link Mr. Kenyatta to the crimes decided not to testify anymore. But you have to remember that in the Kenya case, there was a deliberate attempt to interfere with the witnesses. There was a deliberate attempt made. In fact, at one point, I had to go to the judges, I believe that one is in the second case, to even request for one Walter Barasa for warrant of arrest to issue against him for interference with witnesses. Until now, we've been requesting for that person to be surrendered to the ICC, but of course, it hasn't happened yet. So I can just say that we have learned lessons also from that situation. We have learned lessons, and we have been studying at the office, especially the registry, who is responsible for witness protection, to see what can be done in terms of protecting witnesses. It is important that when we approach witnesses to speak to them, if they feel any risk, if they think of any threat for interfering with us, to please speak up about that, so that the unit, the victims and witnesses unit that is responsible for protection at the court will be able to take immediate action. We have been trying, we have been putting other measures and methods in place to be able to protect witnesses, because, you know, protection of witnesses is an obligation that I have as prosecutor, that the registrar has, that the judges have, to ensure that witnesses are neither re-traumatized, witnesses are neither are fully protected, so that their interaction with the court should not cause them any danger. So we are putting our measures in place to ensure that we try to preempt this that will harm the case.
Aware of your busy schedules, I don't have any more questions for you. Finally, what is your message to the people of Uganda, to the people of Northern Uganda where atrocities were committed and to the victims?
I want the people of Uganda to know that the victims of these crimes have not been forgotten, and they will never be forgotten. That what we can do under our power as a court to investigate and prosecute these crimes, we will do. We will spare no effort in prosecuting this case and prosecuting it satisfactorily. All I can request from them is cooperation and support, so that this case is solidly brought before the judges. It is important that the evidence we need, we have it to present it to the judges. The judges will not go with all the media announcement that this happened, this happened. We have to bring solid evidence before them, people testifying that they witnessed this and that, they know this and that, before the judges. That will make the case very strong. So for that reason, I'm seeking their support, and I'm seeking their understanding to be able to work with the office and let us try to bring justice to the victims of these atrocities.
Thank you so much, the Chief Prosecutor. And I want to say I am very grateful and pleased to host you on Unity FM.
Thank you very much.
I want to wish you a good night and safe journey as you traverse the country. I know you'll travel through Soroti now.
Yeah.
I wish you a safe journey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Send out greeting.
Thank you.
Now, I would ready a chalo kakobu your can one polo one Jimmy. Jimmy awati yabodong your Mwame prosecutor berokobo ilemono enda ko bile pachu ile duo meweka kana menyo pe winya bear eta geni da wini winya to bear nani ko bachera rio mago meweka to bero kere tare medo ni anga bear Jimmy Jolly
But I win you when radio let it prosecutor ko Paul ikoma pema jopenyo ma jogera go I will what we met them ngako pere jo temnian let ma wan yan kere bot wa and ame pen mo ma no penyo me chel ya pen ma hini penyo eno lokom president me Uganda lokom what ICC ame bere kapikom papa ma choya ni media ni radio kere pol mirno ni ngane kompetemo what ken the mete me Uganda ka chel court tining no la data clear me did my ICC o kama leng en natural prosecutor ICC peram gamulo pa president bien mo be lo ke da mir wa kama leng ni yen mo be me Kenya ma we what kin ICC Kenya po be peram ki me no wen me en wa ni Uganda kan en foot what me na ma tie kin ICC ki court ke ka chile Uganda ti ma be to trial bien support ma da me ti ma be donc en bero lo kom lo mo ma be ga katima pol ni ICC ti ka targeting lo ko chol wajne meno ni mo be lo ko pa be lo bal kari bien ka ina mo ICC ti ka ti lo Africa me lo ni lo kom lo ma ti nyong ma ti ka ti me lo ko chol kan en ba ti ka targeting Africa wajne ko ma leng be ni ken na mo you know ni ti in court kom cases abor do a bit kenagi lo ma Africa en chol bot court mar nyoro kama leng ni lobele en kitiki miri kom tit pakor lok tiki chware kom tit pakor o miyo la bolle lokom Uganda macharo lo ma chel me chalo korone nim court lo macharo DRC Congo ma Bernard Mario me chalo korone bot court lo macharo Central African Republic mo chalo donc rio bot court ka ti lo mo kene macharo Cote d'Ivoire ma lo chalo korone bot court ti no ni lo en wen ke chel ki Mali no ti kena bi kom cases abor ma di Africa ci man yor kama leng ni mono per ko batene ento gen ma piel tek enani ICC tika tikere lo Africa me chobo lok mana ti nyong ma ti Africa en ben wajo ni berbe ka che lobo ma kot tika ti ye mi chwa ko ti pa kot berbe ka che ti yong nyo NGO da mi chwa ko kot ka che ki jo ma bala ti me ko ngi witnesses bien meno konyo court me building case matter where case ga chara in court piru beta yor and ngala ti me piano udok bene kamio la bole ni pedano ngene court ga ti Africa ga kan bien kenero court come ti ga ti lo mo kalo Ukraine Afghanistan Korea Colombia Honduras Iraq kachin kilo mo kena pata mena ite akwete kom mon UK no bal kom joma ki mawgi or Iraq ten local man yorni court ene will court no lo no yabu meti ko bala dek bal me war crime against humanity ke genocide en ben opinion ni ngola ti ne mo bero ngola ti panga gena pier tek ene ngola ti ma court me to kelo ne lo bero ngol mati bi victim amadon ko bane ma bala ti me ko ma pol victims ene wenti Africa eto piko mara cham ken joma logoni no gen to bere en ken victim deni no polo bere yo kene ame duon jo ama baro ti me kombi wunyene bere te ipenyo na penyo ken lokom Thomas ko yero ka chen ti pa International Crime Division ni en ko commenting here en wali ka leng ni karma ka yabu court na ICC ki yabu court na ICC pemi le yuti pa court mari ti amele bo mande eto me mi twa ko gi nyome ti kere ka chel wet lok man na tim nyong ki jwa ko ka chel donc mede machalo Uganda kitika kwanyo yo mabe meneno ni piru kom bal mo kene manope ki ron piru e nyim court na ICC beron piru e court da kan man gen no be bien karma ki yabo ICC logo kun wa tambu no ni court na ICC uti man not e keringo kere court mano ai lo pa donc beneno lo kom amnesty why amnesty ki ko mara jarme uganda kan you know it like mera pa on na kan ameno peti me ki mana jeli kan awra chamo kene eta chiep awe no pe war no foto kan en chamo ken ba we ko meri pir mano mi wer ko Thomas go yer fo don leon ko pian no en lok ma chiep ke kwano king chiep de ngoge no per wate lok mo ken ber ma en lo ma ini penyo en ni ashura na ngom en miyo ki witnesses pian kay miyo la bol ma lok ko Kenya ni Kenya ngur ber ma tek da ni pa ICC Kenya pete wata be pian witnesses kitika bor ge kitika wilo ge ko atino pedon ki beru ki twin mati me be nyim court kamiyo gen motime donc en wala kama ling kes me Kenya be kes ma chel me pewe gen wor ma be fa pian ke nero mo amor dor ma ki mor kom wor nyata ka chel ki jo keneni inoni jano ku gamente kun ku ti ma tek menene witnesses ko le wilo go ko bor ge well en ma chalo la plida mi court ma ICC ma e chara bene penyo bordo ngol ko pi wara me ma kom dana chel ma eno be any pro kitik man me will witness nyo bor kwa jo wek no jo be kiloro me cher nyim ko o ko me pa me ma ni ngare be tie en ko mara je funga ene pia ki mio tie kom ko ento dano ngene ite ko bene ke yo mo me ke konyo kere wako be pa witness mano ko tiki jaay mo kene ma keneno office pakaran ma dir my system registry tiki witness protection unit ma ki tiu kere meneno ni jo ma mier utas fang nim court no be no keneno yore be bergi no tia be if atamni ene obe
man maria magano be da penya me de loi pe Kampala, I feel office Kampala. Apaya chieli neno ni computer me ICC ni pien prosecutor lo wando yada kwache. But because you have to translate that into the understandable language of the region, mi yini don ye. Neno ni computer ametia word kom Dominic Ongwen tieno.
Kit mala play the me court my ICC the prosecutor wa kere ni case le enenum tinyim court. Pien balma Dominic Ongwen otimoni obiro balmi bilogo bebero balate tino ame joro munya gi pachi kanyo gene donc case le eni obiro case ma mier kel ngol mati ma balati men komi ko balme Uganda kena o message na give wajini joma balati men komi ko balme Uganda kan we will begin ibiti ma tek meneno ni jole eni ni ngol mati ko kape begin donc ten lokani case mati nyim court ma ICC ma Dominic Ongwen nyim court dongol court na ICC la polida ka chel ki office ka chel ki tu court mo kana wen ti ataro dongol court meneno ni court woro ko no lo twaro pa parties when mati yen we ngol mati kati
Okay, atamo awin radio gino kana wana media kan petie ai itung kumalo kone ka bulla diru kok matino ni doling and purposely jimono do ye kan me translating and interpreting or me prosecutor just for the consumption of our local community. And I think it has been perfect. What about when you win yore me prosecutor me ICC kobo kere kop me pidi kom Dominic Ongwen angeni okigo do binucho bumana wando po me do binuriela me dakane yako ni yor karno beran jorech ka ba ye buruna be eka terwatuno do dihi kere yoba kene Unity FM ekada legu winya be Jimmy kede awati uli waruna bear bada teru koyo.
Hello, we've come to eat documents like Malakwan, Boyo.
Yeah, that has been good.
Maximize that time.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Koyo.
And take away we have a variety of delicious meals and soft drinks, including natural juice with some entertainment, enough parking space. It can be staff friendly and make you feel at home. I will have my breakfast, lunch, everything right here. That's good. We're open from Monday to Saturday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Spark Restaurant and Takeaway is found on Luba Road, Lukoya, adjacent to Lira Integrated School Signpost. Come and feel the difference. I am Spark, delicious. Bishop Rumi Comprehensive Secondary School. School of Bishop Rumi, Archbishop Orombi Comprehensive Secondary School, serve, not be served.
We are not ready. Very. Huh? I don't need. Let me just stop the broadcast.
Where on article?